Hi everyone, it's Aga from EurekaCrystalBeads.com and I'm here with a really fun beading tutorial for you. Before we get started, just a quick reminder to check out the rest of our channel, and if you like what you see, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you always know when we're posting new content. So in this video we're going to be making this little necklace here that is inspired by and made with beads and crystals entirely from our October 2024 collection, Dark Blossoms. And let me tell you, I am completely obsessed with this collection, with the beads that are inside it and the crystals. Absolutely love it. And this is the first of the designs that I already have prepared for you. I think it would work great as an earring as well as a necklace. So this one is a necklace because I also wanted to take the opportunity to show those of you who don't know that yet how to finish a beading wire, because it's just some beads on wire, and I'm also going to use French wire to finish it, and that's also in the collection. So you can see one of the ways you can use this little wire in your jewelry. So I think it's a great piece to wear every day, but it also has a little bit of a Halloween vibe. It's kind of a little bit vampiric, I would say. So let me show you this in close-up and let me tell you what you need to make this and how to create it. So these are the supplies that we're going to be using today. Let me just walk you through them. For the center of our pendant, we're going to need an 8mm Chaton, and here I use the blue one, but today in this video I'll be using the red one and we'll see which one looks nicer. We're also going to be using the bicone mix that you get in the collection, and it's not only color mix but it's also a size mix. And you should definitely get enough of the 6mm bicones to make this pattern, but probably you're not going to get 8, which is how many you would need to make earrings out of it, because this would also look lovely as an earring. I had 2 mixes, that's why I'll be able to do it twice, but you might get 4, 5, or 6 of these in this color, but probably not 8 in the mix, so you would need 2 mixes for earrings. As you can see, there's also green ones, so you can also make mismatched earrings, why not? But as I said, you should get 4 to 6, maybe 7. Here's 7 of the green ones and just 4 of the rose colored ones. In any case, we're going to be using these 6mm. We're going to be using some 3mm as well. And when it comes to 4mm beads, we'll also be using these fire polish that were also in the collection. And I've thought of using them also in the necklace for this. But I wanted to save them because I don't know how many of these I'm going to make, and this also uses the 4mm fire polish, and I'm also preparing a tutorial for that, so stay tuned. So these will be just like an accent in our piece. When it comes to check beads, we're also going to be using these lovely MobyDuos beads in this wonderful color, and these O beads here that are silver. When it comes to seed beads, you're going to need some Delicas or Toho Treasures and some 11-0, so Miyuki 11-0s. And all of those beads you get in the October 2024 collection. In addition to beads and crystals, you're also going to need some findings if you're making a necklace like me on beading wire. Speaking of wire, I'm going to be using this one. So it's a 7-strand wire, quite stiff, and it's 0.015 inches. You can also just use some cord if you want. I used wire because it fits perfectly through the O bead. And to finish the wire, I'm going to be using some crimp tubes here, some jump rings. Here I also have some crimp covers, but these are not mandatory. You can do it without them. Here I have a clasp, and this clasp was also in the collection. And to finish this, I'm going to use French wire as wire guard, and the French wire, surprise, surprise, was also in the collection, so it's going to be useful as well. When it comes to tools, I'll be using a size 12 needle, and here I have 4-pound Fairline in the color crystal that I'm going to be using to make this pattern. And for other tools, here I have a crimping tool, but you can also flatten your crimp tubes with just some flat nose pliers or chain nose pliers. Here I have 2 pairs to open and close my jump rings. And to cut my wire, here I have some wire cutters and scissors to cut off the excess thread. Alright, that's it. Let's get on to beading. Alright, I have about half a wingspan of thread on my needle. You can put on a little bit more just to be safe. You can use a stopper bead, but we're going to tie our thread right in the beginning, so you absolutely don't have to. And the first thing I do is I'm going to make the back of the pendant. And to do that, I'll pick up a MobyDuo, a Delica, another MobyDuo, and make sure that you pick them up from the same side. So as you can see, they have a little bit of a flat side and a little bit of a convex curved side. And it's just important that you pick them from the same side. Another Delica, another MobyDuo, Delica, and MobyDuo. You want to have 4 of each, so I need 1 more Delica here. That's what you need. You need 4 of each on your needle. I'm going to hold them and slide them down. And I'm going to go through them once more until my threads meet. Make sure not to miss any of the beads. This is what you will get. And now we can cut off the thread from the spool, just enough to weave it in later. And I'm gonna make some knots, 3 of them to be precise. And after you pull tight, you just go through some of the beads again so that the knot can slide after your needle and hide in the beads. And you want to end up coming out of one of the MobyDuos. I'm now going to step up to the outer hole, just like that. I like to keep the tail for the time being because it's easier to just hold on to it with my other hand. And this is already cupped, as you can see. The straight side of the MobyDuos is kind of facing inwards. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to fill in the spaces in between the second holes of the MobyDuos with this sequence of beads. So 3 Delicas, 1 O bead, 3 Delicas. Just like that. And the same for the next space here in between the MobyDuos. And that's the last sequence that I'm adding. I'm going straight through the first 3 Delicas and the O bead because I want to be coming out of that first O bead that I added. I'm gonna pull tight because, as you can see, this got a little bit loose. So I'm pulling tight. And now, in between each of the O beads, we're going to add a Delica 3mm bicone Delica. So I'm just going through the next O bead. I do the same for the remaining 3 spaces. But before you pull that last one tight, that's when we want to put in the Chaton. So I'm just going to put that in. And then I'll pull tight. Now I want to go to the bicone that is in here. So the first one that I added before. And in between each bicone, I'm going to add an extra pair of Delicas. So I'm connecting the bicones with 2 Delicas. This will create a square on top of our crystal there. I'm now going to go through all of the beads in this last row, so the Delicas and the bicones once more, to make sure everything is nice and secure. That's right. Now I'm going to step down through the Delica that's connecting my bicone to the O bead, and I'm gonna go through the O bead and the next bicone that is actually going down to the MobyDuo here. So one of the 3 that are connecting the MobyDuo to the O bead. And I'm ready to start the new row. And the new row is going to be MobyDuo 3mm bicone, MobyDuo. Now make sure to pick them up in the right way. So we want the arched side to be facing up. So my thread is going to go like this from here to here. And that's why I picked them up like this. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go through again that third Delica that's connecting these MobyDuos to the O beads. So connecting the Delicas, I'm going through the O bead and the Delica after it, and this is what I get. You do the same thing 3 more times, connecting the Delicas with MobyDuo 3mm bicone MobyDuo. And technically this row is ready, but I'm going to go through all of these beads again just to make it more secure. So I'm going through the MobyDuos, the bicones, and these Delica, O-bead Delica in the middle here. For the next row, you want to be coming out of the top hole of one of these MobyDuos that we added. So I'm just going to step up, pull tight one last time for that row. And now whenever you're above the O-bead here, and not the 3mm bicone, when you're above the O-bead, you're going to add O-bead, fire polish O-bead, and just go through the second hole of the next MobyDuo. And now when you're above a 3mm fire polish, you're going to add an O-bead, 6mm bicone, an O-bead, and you're going to do 4 of each. There. And you're basically finished, but I also would like to fill in those spaces that are below the 4mm fire polish beads. And to do that, I'm coming out of the O bead in here next to the fire polish, and simply I'm going to put 111, one of those beautiful rose colored 11s, and I'm gonna go through this O bead in here below the fire polish. It might be a little tricky, but the O beads do have large holes, so you shouldn't have a problem with that eventually. I pick up another 11, and I'm gonna go through the next O bead, and then through all of the sequence with a 6mm fire polish. Make sure that nothing's twisted, and when you pull tight, you should get your space filled. I'm going to go through this sequence here to get to the next O bead next to the fire polish. And again, 111, go through that O bead. I'm going to the back because that's just more convenient, and then you can just go back to the front. The second 11, and through that O bead and the next sequence here. Alright, last thing to do is to add some beads to hang your pendant on your wire. Now, the bicone does have enough of a hole to fit wires, so if you wanted, you could even simply make your pendant just like this. Or you can add some additional hanging bit over here. So let me just quickly show you one of the ways you can add some length to this pendant. So I'm coming out of the 6mm bicone. I'm going to pick up an O bead, then 7 11s, and another O bead. I'm gonna go right through this bicone here. This is what I get. Now I'm going to go through all of these beads, but I'm going to skip the middle bead so that these 11s create a sort of a pointed shape. So I went 3 of them. I'm going to skip the middle one, and I'm gonna go through the remaining 3. And when I pull tight, this one's going to protrude a little bit. Now through the O bead and the bicone again. This time I want to only reach that middle one. And as you can see, the O beads created this nice shape around that bicone here, which I really like. Now I'm going to pick up an O bead, a blue 3mm bicone, O bead, bicone, and another O bead. And I'm going to go around and through this middle 11 again. This will create a sort of a triangle with the middle O bead on top. I'm gonna go 3 times through this sequence. And now I'm ready to tie off my thread, weave in both of the tails, and start working on the necklace. But I already have mine prepared here. And I pre-strung this so that I don't have to spend much time on it right now, and I can show this to you immediately. So the way you go about it, you take your wire, you measure the length that you want the necklace to be, then you unwind 5 or even 6 more inches for the margin, the piece that you're going to tuck in to your crimp tubes. And even before you string any of the beads on the wire, you finish one side of your necklace, and this is how you do it. We're gonna need 1 crimp tube, 1 crimp cover, a jump ring, your clasp, and about 1/2 inch of your French wire. You can cut it with your scissors or with your wire cutters. So I have the end of my wire here. I'm going to put on first the crimp tube, then my French wire. It should fit your jewelry wire inside because it's like a tightly coiled metal wire. And then you loop your wire around and put it through the crimp tube. And when you pull it tight, you'll see that the French wire also bent and it creates this nice little loop in here. Now it doesn't need to be super tight because we have crimp covers that we're going to put there. You can of course just flatten it with your flat nose pliers, or you can use a crimping tool like this one here. So I'm first going to put my crimp tube into this kidney bean shaped hole right over here and squish. I'm moving it top and bottom a little bit so that it's nicely squished. And now we can put it vertically like this in the other hole and fold. And just folds in half, and that's how it will keep our wire nice and secure. I'm going to additionally squeeze this a little bit with my flat nose pliers. Now my crimp cover is just going to go on top of that crimp tube that we squished, and you can actually use your crimping tool as well to close it. Right, and now it just looks like a silver bead. Now you want to put on the beads on your wire, and because 2 strands of wire easily go into even 11 O's, you can hide the end, and here you don't have to trim it. Now as you can see, for my necklace, which I'm going to make quite short, I chose this sequence. So at first I added some plain 11 O's because nobody looks at your necklace from the back anyway. Then I added these bicones, and then the 4mm bicones in this rose color and an O bead in between them just to alternate a little bit. And this is what I have. Now you move on to the other side of your necklace, and it's going to be similar. Crimp tube, 1/2 inch of French wire, back through the crimp tube, and I'm going to go straight through some of the 11 O's as well, just to cover the end of my wire here. And now I'm going to pull everything sort of tight, not too tight, because we still want to have some wiggle room for those beads here. Crimping time. Now I can trim off the end of my wire, and always remember to cut your wire with wire cutters and not your scissors because they will get blunt. There, look how pretty that looks. Now let's put some jump rings through that. And you're done. So that's it for this tutorial. Let us know in the comments which version is better, with the blue chaton or with the red chaton inside. Meanwhile, all of the materials that I used here today can be found at EurekaCrystalBeads.com. You can get them separately as well if you don't have the October 2024 collection Dark Blossoms. Thank you so much for watching and see you in the next one. Bye!